if you send out a dish that you're really proud of and you kind of wait for somebody's reaction, you can see them kind of close their eyes and taste it, and, get that visible happiness from what you just did. That's what it's all about.
This is The Crackling. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Well, it's pretty exciting to be in one of the best restaurants in the country. Today with Ryan Carlson, head chef of Agnes. Ryan, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks. Probably a little bit tired. I think I got here way too early. I was really stressed out and I didn't get too much sleep. So I think I got in super early and I was a little bit too ready.
Okay, cool. Well, it's just, you shouldn't be stressed for us. We're pretty chill. We're pretty relaxed.
No, look, I've been following all your podcasts for quite a while now. So yeah, I'm actually really chuffed.
We've been hearing amazing things about what you're doing. So why don't you tell us about that? Agnes has won many accolades already. What are you guys doing here?
Look, to break it down the most simple way, I think Agnes is kind of the destination style restaurant of the Any Day group. So obviously Ben Williamson, it's kind of like his little baby.
Yeah.
So when he came on board and kind of came on board with the Any Day group with Ty Simon and Bianca Marchi and Frank Lee, when he kind of joined the group, he really wanted to continue with the pathway of wood-fired cooking. And after talking with the guys and securing this building, and this is kind of the brainchild of everybody.
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
So yeah, I suppose in a way it's a destination restaurant kind of set away in a dingy part of the valley.
You'd never know it was here.
No, it kind of looks like this decrepit building on the outside, and then you kind of walk inside and you're kind of blown away by the theatrics and the fires and the heart and everything. And I think that's the idea.
It's such a welcoming, warming, intimate space.
For sure.
It's amazing.
You come in. I think that's kind of why I work here, to be honest. When my wife and I came back from Europe, we'd already heard of what Ben was doing with Agnes, and I think they'd only just been open for about 6 months.
Yeah.
And we went through those doors and we kind of fell in love with the theatrics of the whole place. So yeah, I think fire is kind of at the heart of everything that we do here.
Yeah.
Hence the two massive hearths.
Tell me about cooking over fire, the challenges and the joy of it.
Look, it's actually kind of second nature to everybody. I think when people kind of start working here, and we've had quite a lot of people come and go through Agnes.
Yeah.
When people start coming here and they come from kind of normal kitchens and they finally kind of come here at Agnes and they start cooking over wood fire, they're so daunted by it. But after about 1 or 2 weeks, it really becomes second nature.
Yeah.
I think it's cooking over wood fire. It's such a primitive and primordial thing, so that it's kind of in the instincts of everybody, really. So you kind of just have to tap into that, and it becomes second nature.
Yeah.
With a few tips and tricks kind of built in along the way after
no
years
doubt.
of finding out what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the pork program that you have here. How does pork weave through the menu and over fire as well? Is there challenges with that?
Look, pork and wood fire actually work hand in hand. It's a match made in heaven. The pork program in Agnes, it's kind of ebbed and flowed over the years. And I think when we started out, we were using obviously Vaughan Schultz quite a lot. When it was quite a small restaurant, we were doing 80 to 100 covers a night. But now, it's grown into this absolute beast. And, we cook for anywhere up to about between 1,000 to 1,500 people a week. So
wow.
We do crazy numbers here. So to ask Vaughan to kind of keep up with that demand would be kind of unfair, considering obviously you're aware of his kind of situation there with Schultz Family Farms. Fantastic farms, fantastic pigs. But at the moment, we're kind of leaning towards we still use Schultz for like special events and things like that. But we've kind of started using a new farm probably 6 months ago, and that's Bangalore Sweet Pork.
Okay, yeah.
So they're down in the Northern Rivers in New South Wales, and it's actually a collective of 4 different farms that kind of work under the same banner.
Yeah.
So the breed of pigs that they have, it's a large white, but they're crossed with a Berkshire and a Duroc. So they have the resilience and the size of a large white, but they have the intramuscular fat and kind of the sweetness of the Berkshire.
Amazing.
So it's a fantastic compromise between quality and quantity, especially considering the fact that we go up to 180 kilos of pork a week.
Wow.
So we definitely champion the pig here for sure. So at the moment we're getting in whole middles. So basically from the shoulder right down to the top of the rump, basically. We get in the whole middles and we age them for about 3 weeks in our aging room. But you'll find when you actually come in at Agnes and you kind of explore the whole venue, it's kind of like a labyrinth, really, of you go downstairs and there's different cold rooms and aging rooms and fermentation chambers and all that kind of stuff. So it's really like a chef's playground. Yeah,
it sounds amazing.
So we get in the whole middles and we age them for about 3 weeks in our aging room. And then we butcher it. We strip basically the rack section from the belly, and the bellies actually go to one of our sister restaurants, same down on Ada Lane and James Street. So Arte's fantastic chef, really awesome Thai food. He uses the bellies, and we kind of take the racks and we use them here. So it's kind of our way of trying to use as much of the whole animal as possible, and kind of adding value in a different way, or as much as we can possibly.
How do you cook a rack over fire?
Look, we've experimented a lot of different ways of cooking pork over the years.
Yeah.
So I think at the start what we were doing is we were getting these whole aged racks and kind of pricking the skin. We weren't doing much with the skin at all, but we kind of developed probably 3 separate techniques of doing crackling really perfectly. So the first way would be kind of setting it over the hearth over quite an ambient heat for quite a long time, and the skin itself obviously being dry from the aging process, it kind of fries in its own fat over a period of time, and so it gets this awesome souffle effect. But what we found, and we found this through being incredibly busy and needing to cook pork in an incredibly short amount of time, was what we actually started doing is we started getting fish cages, like these massive fish cages used to cook like whole turbots and whole fish and things like that. We actually ended up, and I think this was the result of kind of being in shit. So we basically put whole racks in these fish cages and kind of bent them over and kind of wedged them into these fish cages. And obviously we've got our wood oven behind us. We kind of stood them up and sat it next to that intense dry heat that was emanating straight out of the wood fire. And so we got the effect of like essentially putting it in a raging hot oven, which is kind of how you would classically do a pork belly or like pork crackling. So that works fantastically. So there's a few different tips and tricks of getting fantastic crackling and cooking awesome pork over the wood fire. The technique that we use at the moment, we basically get our aged racks. We brine them for about 24 hours in a very simple brine, and then we take it out. We smoke them up in our smoker upstairs on the terrace. So we've got this big, kind of an American barbecue style smoker. We smoke them to about 55 degrees, so the protein's kind of just set.
Wow.
And then we'll finish them over the grill, almost like in the same fashion that you're cooking a T-bone or a steak.
Amazing.
So yeah, I mean, aging, brining, smoking, and then finishing on the grill. For something that looks quite simple on the plate and quite classic, it's actually a bit of a process to get to the product that you want. Yeah,
absolutely. It sounds amazing, though. You're sort of getting a name for yourself for your love of pork and knowledge as well of the beast. What is the favourite cut of yours, and how do you cook it?
Look, in terms of favourite, that's an incredibly hard question. I would have to say my outright favourite cut of pork is the rack.
Yeah.
But obviously, coming from the UK and spending, quite a bit of time at St. John Restaurant, which, obviously champions nose to tail cookery, and the grandfather of that whole concept, Fergus Henderson. I would have to say that unashamedly rack is probably my favorite cut to cook. It's just the simplicity of it, the intramuscular fat. You've got the chewiness of the belly, and once you understand how to set the proteins correctly on, it's always kind of a compromise between the cooked of the queue on the belly and the queue on the eye. Once you get that kind of balance right, it's it's a fantastic thing to cook and eat. It's so simple. So yeah, I know that's kind of boring, especially. No, it sounds amazing to me. Considering pigs are like, it's an animal of so many different uses.
Yeah.
It's a true bounty, really. Yeah.
Well, you've risen to head chef of one of the best restaurants in the country. What sort of advice would you have for young chefs looking to make a career in the industry?
Look, when I was kind of just... Here's the thing. Like, I kind of fell into cooking. It wasn't what I originally wanted to do. I actually studied engineering, but...
Wow.
I actually fell into cooking. I broke my big toe, and so I got fired from my job as an aircraft mechanic at the time. So 2 weeks later, I was in kitchens, and I fell in love with it that way. But the best advice that I could give to somebody who I was when I was kind of just starting out was find a fantastic mentor.
Yeah.
Find somebody that will nurture you and kind of pass on all of that wisdom and knowledge. Like find your Obi-Wan, to be honest. Like find your teacher, basically.
Well, you're in that role these days. How do you get the best
part? Yeah.
How do you get the best out of your team?
Look, obviously being part of quite a progressive restaurant group, being Any Day, a lot of thought has gone into that whole process. So yeah, I think the main thing is just making sure that people are taken care of. Gone are the days where chefs are expected to work 60-hour weeks with no overtime and no breaks and all that kind of stuff. So we've actually worked incredibly hard on the culture at Agnes, especially over the past 6 months, making sure that everybody's taking breaks, making sure that we have family meal, that we all sit down for a meal together every day, and making sure that people are, looked after and they want to come to work and they're happy to come to work.
Yeah.
So that's a massive part of it. But also, as much as you're being somebody's mentor and somebody's boss, you kind of, in a way, well, I mean, being a head chef, from what I've found so far, is not only being a boss, it's also being a friend and a father and being all of those figures, as well as being a bit of a scientist and a tradie at the same time. So, it can get a bit too much sometimes.
Well, there is so many people that love what you guys do here at Agnes, but what do you love about what you do?
Look, for me personally, I think it's really easy to forget when you're in a kitchen, even in an open kitchen such as Agnes, that you're cooking for people on date night. So, people are actually coming to you for an experience. Yeah. And so being able to provide that experience to people and, make their night, it's really quite special. Now, one of my favorite things to do on a night is to kind of look up and kind of people watch. And not in a creepy way, but if you send out a dish that you're really proud of, and you kind of wait for somebody's reaction, you can see them kind of close their eyes and taste it and, get that, visible happiness from what you just did.
Absolutely.
That's what it's all about. Really.
Yeah, it's amazing immediate recognition.
Yeah, it's just, it's addictive. Yeah, to say the least. Yeah.
Well, Ryan, amazing to catch up with you and see what you do here. Please keep in touch and let's catch up again soon.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
This is The Crackling, a Deep in the Weeds production in partnership with PorkStar. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we catch up with some of Australia's best chefs and pork producers to discover what makes Australian pork so special.